Welcome back to ABC General Hospital Spoilers channel. Today we will dive into the swirling chaos unfolding in Port Charles. As suspicions mount against the cunning Jen Sidwell, Nina Reeves stumbles into a spectacular setback, and Liesl Obrecht unleashes her unbridled rage toward her daughter Britt Westburn. Buckle up, fans, because this episode promises a whirlwind of revelations, heated confrontations, and shadowy schemes that could reshape alliances in unexpected ways. Let's start at Nina's cozy yet tension-filled apartment, where the air is thick with unresolved family drama. Nina, ever the optimistic peacemaker in her circle, will attempt to steer the conversation toward reconciliation by urging Liesl to extend an olive branch and express regret for that stinging slap she delivered to Britt. Drawing from her own experiences of betrayal and redemption, Nina might even share a heartfelt anecdote about how forgiveness has mended her fractured relationships in the past, hoping to inspire Liesl. However, Liesl, with her sharp tongue and ironclad grudges, will dismiss the idea outright, lamenting that she ever shed a single tear over what she now sees as Britt's ultimate deception. Imagine Liesl pacing the room, her eyes blazing with indignation, as she recounts the sleepless nights and the profound grief that consumed her, only to realize it was all an elaborate ruse. This invented element of Liesl reflecting on specific memories like the time she held a vigil by Britt's supposed bedside adds layers to her emotional turmoil, highlighting how deeply the fake death cut into her maternal instincts. Britt, not one to back down from a verbal spar, will counter with a pointed accusation, claiming that any monstrous traits she possesses were inherited directly from her mother. She could elaborate by recalling childhood incidents where Liesl's ruthless survival tactics in the cutthroat world of espionage and medicine shaped her own moral compass, suggesting that Liesl's influence turned her into a master of deception. This back and forth escalates the fury, with Liesl doubling down on her outrage, perhaps even vowing to expose every hidden truth about Britt's disappearance to the entire town, adding a new thread of public scandal that wasn't in the original whispers. Shifting gears to the undercurrents of mystery surrounding Britt's shocking return, Jason Morgan steps into the spotlight with crucial updates for Carly Spencer and Sonny Corinthos. In a dimly lit corner of Port Charles, perhaps at Sonny's penthouse overlooking the harbor, Jason will lay out the baffling details of how someone orchestrated an intricate plot to make it seem like Britt had vanished for good. His investigative instincts kicking in, Jason might speculate on potential motives, inventing a new angle where he suspects ties to an underground network of medical fraudsters who profit from faking deaths for high-profile figures. This addition deepens the intrigue, as Jason vows to peel back the layers and unmask the puppet master, drawing on his history of unraveling conspiracies that once entangled him with organizations like the WSB. Carly, feeling the sting of exclusion, will confess her hurt over Jason abruptly ejecting her from Anna Devane's office to prioritize a private chat with the commissioner. Picture Carly's expression, a mix of vulnerability and frustration as she probes Jason for explanations, reminding him of their unbreakable bond forged through years of shared dangers. Jason, ever the stoic guardian, will hint at the tangled web of events during his absence, perhaps alluding to shadowy dealings in distant lands that demanded immediate attention from Anna. Yet, in a calculated omission, he won't disclose the bombshell about Jack Brennan enlisting Jocelyn Jacks as a WSB operative, or the perilous brush with death Jocelyn endured, preserving those secrets to protect the younger generation from further peril. This selective sharing builds tension, as viewers wonder how long these hidden truths can stay buried before exploding into the open. Meanwhile, down under in the sun-soaked landscapes of Australia, Jack Brennan takes charge with a firm hand, doling out repercussions to Jocelyn and her partner S. Vaughn following their disastrously failed mission. The scene could unfold in a sleek, high-tech WSB outpost hidden amid the outback, where Brennan, with his authoritative demeanor, outlines the fallout from their errors, perhaps including lost intelligence that could have prevented a global threat. Jocelyn and Vaughn, chafing under the scrutiny, will bristle at the verdict, but Brennan remains unyielding, enforcing strict protocols to maintain operational integrity. To heighten the drama, invent a new consequence where they're assigned grueling retraining exercises in remote locations, testing their resilience and forcing them to confront their missteps. On top of the professional reprimands, Brennan will explicitly ban any romantic entanglements between them, citing the risks of divided loyalties in the field. Undeterred, Jocelyn and Vaughn might exchange secretive glances, plotting ways to keep their budding relationship alive through coded messages. or clandestine meetings, adding a forbidden romance subplot that echoes classic soap opera tropes of star-crossed lovers. Defying authority. Back at General Hospital, the epicenter of Port Charles' medical and moral dilemmas, Drew Kane turns to cunning tactics to safeguard his interests. In a hushed corridor lined with bustling nurses and beeping monitors, Drew could approach Martin Gray with a calculated proposition, leveraging his influence to dangle a solution to Stella Henry's mounting legal troubles. Imagine Drew painting a vivid picture of how he could pull strings with high-powered contacts to make those issues vanish, but only if Martin retrieves sensitive evidence from his safe, specifically incriminating material tied to Portia Robinson that could unravel multiple lives if exposed. This manipulation underscores Drew's growing desperation, as he invents a backstory where the evidence includes forged documents from a past scandal involving hospital funds, amplifying the stakes. However, complications arise since Kai Taylor and Trina Robinson have already disposed of it in a bold move to protect their family, leaving Martin in a bind. Yet, the real powder keg is another piece of damning proof that falls into Anna's hands, potentially engineered by Sonny and Britt to frame Drew for a $1 million bribe to Judge Eva Heron. Anna, piecing together the puzzle in her office cluttered with case files, will brief Harrison Chase on this breakthrough, declaring it a matter for Ada Justine Turner to pursue aggressively. This development positions Drew on a precarious ledge, as the noose of justice tightens around his political ambitions. Finally, the spotlight turns to the intense interrogation of Jen Sidwell by Marco Rios, where suspicions simmer like a pot about to boil over. In a sleek, dimly lit interrogation room, perhaps at a neutral venue like a high-end hotel, Marco will grill Sidwell relentlessly, probing whether he orchestrated an assassination attempt on Drew or manipulated the bribe scandal to sabotage the congressman. Sidwell, with his slick charm and evasive answers, might counter by inventing alibis involving international business dealings. But Marco's questions cut deep, exploring how far Sidwell would go to eliminate threats to his empire. This confrontation could introduce a new element where Marco reveals intercepted communications, hinting at Sidwell's involvement in underground dealings, escalating the paranoia and forcing Sidwell to navigate a web of lies. Next, we're diving deep into a heartbreaking development that's set to shake up the Quartermaine family dynamics, as young Danny Morgan steps up with an emotional appeal to his uncle Drew Kane. Amid the looming shadow of loss, in the ever-twisting world of Port Charles, tensions within the Quartermaine clan have reached a boiling point, especially with Drew Kane's strict measures to isolate his daughter, Scout Quartermaine, from several key family members. Drew, driven by a mix of protective instincts and perhaps some unresolved grudges, has enforced stringent restraining orders that bar Scout from interacting with a host of relatives, including her half-brother Danny Morgan, her grandmother Alexis Davis, her aunts Molly Lansing Davis and Christina Corinthos Davis, and even her cousin Rocco Falconeri. This separation hasn't been easy on anyone involved, but it's hit Scout particularly hard, as she's clearly yearning for the warmth and familiarity of those she's been kept away from. Imagine the confusion and loneliness a child like Scout must feel, cut off from the very people who could offer her comfort during turbulent times. Adding to this emotional strain is the devastating news on the horizon, the passing of the beloved matriarch, Monica Quartermaine. Monica has long been a pillar of strength for the family, her wisdom and presence holding everyone together through countless crises. Her death will undoubtedly leave a void, amplifying Scout's sense of isolation and making her long even more for the supportive circle Drew has deemed off limits. As the storyline unfolds in the episode airing on September 19th, Danny Morgan emerges as an unlikely but determined hero in this family saga. This brave teenager, who's already navigated his own share of hardships, decides he can't stand by idly while his little sister suffers. Sources close to the show's production hint that Danny will take bold initiative, confronting Drew directly with a plea that's equal parts desperation and heartfelt sincerity. Picture Danny, his voice steady but eyes filled with urgency, approaching Drew at a moment when emotions are raw. He might argue passionately about the importance of family unity and grief, emphasizing how Scout's presence at the Quartermaine mansion could provide her with the stability she needs right now. Danny could paint a vivid picture of shared memories with Monica, perhaps recalling family gatherings, where Monica's laughter filled the room or her gentle guidance helped the kids through tough spots, insisting that Scout deserves to be part of honoring those moments. Furthermore, he may push for the restraining orders to be temporarily lifted, allowing Scout to join the rest of Monica's loved ones in mourning. This isn't just about attending a service, it's about healing together, sharing stories, and finding solace in collective remembrance. Inventing a new layer to this plea. Perhaps Danny brings along a cherished memento from Monica, like an old family photo album, to remind Drew of the bonds that transcend current conflicts. Of course, Danny's impassioned request doesn't guarantee a change of heart from Drew. Known for his steadfast resolve, Drew might very well hold his ground, viewing his decisions as the ultimate safeguard for Scout's well-being. He could counter by highlighting his own role as a devoted father, promising to guide Scout through her grief alongside Willow Tate, who has stepped into a nurturing position in Scout's life. Drew might even delve into his reasoning, explaining how he believes exposure to certain family influences could complicate Scout's emotional recovery, especially after the recent traumas they've endured. Yet, beneath this tough exterior, there's a flicker of vulnerability. Drew's own history of loss might make him pause, weighing the long-term impact of keeping Scout isolated. To expand on this tension, let's consider how Drew's past experiences, from his time in captivity to his identity struggles, have shaped his overprotective nature. He sees himself as Scout's shield against the chaos that often engulfs Port Charles families. But this plea from Danny could force him to confront whether his methods are truly helping, or inadvertently causing more pain. Meanwhile, Scout herself isn't one to stay silent in the face of such upheaval. Having already endured the profound loss of her mother, Sam McCall, Scout found a semblance of closure through Sam's memorial service, where she could bid a proper farewell surrounded by those who cared. This experience might embolden her to voice her own desires, tugging at Drew's heartstrings with innocent yet poignant questions about Monica's funeral. Envision Scout, with wide-eyed earnestness, asking why she can't join her cousins and aunts to say goodbye, perhaps even drawing parallels to how the family rallied around her after Sam's passing. This could introduce fresh elements to the plot, like Scout secretly confiding in a trusted friend at school about her sadness, or maybe sneaking a note to Danny expressing her wish to be there. Such additions heighten the drama, showing Scout's growing awareness and resilience, potentially swaying Drew if he witnesses her distress firsthand. It's these small, human moments that make General Hospital's storytelling so compelling, reminding viewers of the real emotional stakes at play. Looking ahead, the spoilers from ABC General Hospital promise that this isn't the end of the Scout-related turmoil. As the episodes progress through the week of September 15th to 19th and beyond, expect layers of complications to unfold, perhaps involving unexpected interventions from other family members or even legal twists. Regarding the restraining orders, Monica's death could serve as a catalyst for broader reconciliations, forcing characters to reevaluate their priorities amid grief. For instance, Alexis might find a way to indirectly support Scout, or Christina could offer subtle insights that challenge Drew's stance. These developments keep the audience on the edge of their seats, blending heartache with hope for eventual unity. Stay tuned to our channel for the latest updates, as we'll be breaking down every twist and turn in this evolving Quartermaine crisis. What do you think? Will Drew relent, or will the family fractures deepen? Next, we're unraveling a thrilling web of intrigue that's set to explode in Port Charles, as notorious villain Jen Sidwell schemes to compel the brilliant Dr. Britt Westburn and the enigmatic Professor Henry Hank Dalton into a forced collaboration at a cutting-edge lab right in the heart of the city. Diving into the shadowy undercurrents of this developing saga, spoilers suggest that Sidwell's iron grip on power is far from loosened, even after Britt's dramatic escape from captivity. Originally ensnared at the luxurious yet perilous Five Poppies resort in Croatia, Britt found herself trapped in a high-stakes operation, meticulously dissecting layers of confidential data from Dalton's mysterious experiments. This wasn't just routine analysis. Britt was piecing together complex scientific puzzles that hinted at groundbreaking and potentially dangerous discoveries, all while under constant surveillance by Sidwell's operatives. Her ordeal reached a fever pitch until Jason Morgan, ever the stoic hero, orchestrated a daring rescue mission, whisking her back to the relative safety of Port Charles. Now, with both Britt and Dalton converging in the same town, the stage is primed for chaos, inventing a fresh twist to heighten the tension. Perhaps Sidwell has embedded secret trackers in Britt's belongings during her captivity, ensuring he can monitor her every move and pull strings from afar, making her return feel less like freedom and more like a temporary reprieve in a larger game. As we peel back the layers of Britt's clandestine activities at the resort, It becomes clear that her work was no small feat backed up meticulously on encrypted drives that survived the compromised lab raid. These digital archives contain blueprints and formulas that could revolutionize energy or pose catastrophic risks if mishandled. With Britt now stateside and Dalton operating his own facility in Port Charles, the narrative points toward an unwilling partnership thrust upon them by Sidwell's machinations. Imagine a dimly lit, fortress-like mansion where Sidwell convenes his unwilling pawns, his voice echoing through opulent halls as he demands they resume their collaboration. Under his watchful eye, to add new depth, perhaps Dalton reveals during this summons that his research involves not just theoretical science, but rare, exotic materials smuggled from international black markets, escalating the stakes and drawing in global intrigue that could attract unwanted attention from federal agencies lurking in the background. Britt's unexpected return to Port Charles is already sending shockwaves through the community, stirring up old alliances and enmities alike. But why would a fierce survivor like Britt even consider bending to Sidwell's will? Now that she's escaped his direct clutches, the answer lies in a cruel leverage, a specialized medication that Britt desperately needs to manage a chronic condition, one that's been rationed and controlled by Sidwell's network as a means of coercion. This dependency adds a layer of vulnerability to her character, forcing her to navigate a moral minefield where compliance might be her only path to survival. Transitioning to Dalton's lab seems inevitable in this sprawling, interconnected plot, promising more pulse-pounding action as threads from various storylines converge. Expanding on this, let's introduce an invented element where Britt discovers hidden notes in Dalton's data, suggesting his work could inadvertently cure her ailment, creating an internal conflict that blurs the lines between victim and opportunist, and setting up potential betrayals down the line. Complicating matters further is the tenacious Emma Scorpio Drake, whose investigative zeal is locked onto Professor Dalton like a heat-seeking missile, driven by a sense of justice and perhaps a dash of personal vendetta. Emma has been plotting to infiltrate Dalton's lab, determined to expose whatever shadowy experiments he's conducting behind closed doors. Her resolve stems from suspicions of unethical practices, and she's not one to back down easily, even if it means bending a few rules to weave in new details. Picture Emma recruiting an unlikely Alia tech-savvy acquaintance from her university day. Swell provides her with gadgets for the break-in, adding gadgets like night vision scopes and digital decoders that turn her mission into a high-tech espionage thriller reminiscent of classic spy tales. The potential for explosive confrontations ramps up as Emma's deep-seated animosity toward Britt comes into play. She harbors a grudge that's as intense as it is personal, relishing any chance to dismantle Britt's life alongside Dalton's operations. Yet, Emma's crusade might be built on shaky ground, with her laser focus on alleged illegal animal testing missing the mark entirely. In reality, Dalton's pursuits lean toward the realm of cold fusion, a pursuit of unlimited clean energy that could change the world, though not without its perilous side effects if weaponized. This misdirection adds irony to Emma's efforts, as her righteous anger could lead her straight into a trap of her own making, inventing an additional layer. Perhaps Emma stumbles upon forged documents planted by Sidwell to mislead investigators, further convoluting her path and forcing her to question her sources. The drama intensifies with Emma's jaw-dropping realization that Britt is alive and back in town, a revelation that hits like a thunderbolt and reshapes her worldview. Stunned and reeling, Emma might initially double down on her hostility, but spoilers tease a pivotal shift if Britt unexpectedly swoops in to aid her, during a critical moment, perhaps thwarting a lab security breach that endangers Emma's life. This act of heroism could chip away at Emma's haterade, prompting a reluctant reevaluation of old grudges and opening doors to uneasy alliances. To enrich this section, let's add a new element where Emma uncovers a shared history between Britt and her late mother, Robin Scorpio, through old letters, revealing a forgotten bond that humanizes Britt and sows seeds of forgiveness amid the turmoil. Finally, juicy ABC General Hospital spoilers whisper of earth-shattering news on the horizon for Emma, catapulting her into high-stakes drama that promises to keep viewers glued to their screens. In the days ahead, this could involve explosive revelations about Sidwell's broader empire or personal betrayals that test loyalties to the core. As the plot thickens with labs, rescues, and rivalries, Port Charles is in for a whirlwind of suspense. What twists do you foresee in this lab-laden adventure? Share your predictions in the comments, and remember to hit like and subscribe for all the latest scoops.